Death often arrives in the most unexpected ways. This video reveals 5 real-life stories of the most bizarre deaths ever recorded. These unbelievable yet true cases, from freak accidents to astonishing mishaps, will leave you speechless. Prepare for a deep dive into the eerie and unsettling world of the unexpected. It was March 5, 2019, on Interstate 10 near the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Margaret Maurer, known as Meg to her friends and family, was a 21-year-old senior at Tulane University. She studied ecology and evolutionary biology, participated in leadership programs, and worked as a teaching fellow. Originally from Forest Lake, Minnesota, Meg was passionate about plants, conservation, and learning, qualities everyone around her admired. On this day, Meg and 5 friends were on their way to a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains, North Carolina. They had recently enjoyed the Mardi Gras parades in New Orleans and were eager for a hiking trip. Traveling in 2 cars, they stopped at a rest area west of Pascagoula, Mississippi to take a break. As Meg stood near her car preparing to leave, an unimaginable event unfolded. An 18-wheeler traveling westbound on I-10 lost a pair of rear wheels. The wheels, weighing approximately 1,000 pounds, detached and rolled across the highway, traveling 850 feet before striking Meg. The impact was devastating, and the wheels rolled another 150 feet before stopping. The scene was chaotic and deeply distressing. Gautier Police Captain Casey Baxter described the incident as a tragic and unpredictable chain of events. Unaware of what had happened, the truck driver eventually returned to the rest stop after realizing something was wrong. Authorities later determined that the truck, owned by Dana Transport Inc., had been missing a small but critical part, a 3-inch metal locking washer. This inexpensive piece was essential for keeping the wheels securely in place, and its absence likely caused the accident. Meg's passing was a profound loss for her family, friends, and the Tulane community. Her mother, Tracy Maurer, reflected on Meg's deep impact on those around her, highlighting the joy she brought to everyone she knew and the immense heartbreak felt by all who loved her. Meg's professors described her as a brilliant, creative, and passionate student. Professor Dorothy Chariot from the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology Department noted Meg's excitement about her trip, particularly her enthusiasm for the cabin and hiking. Another professor, Donata Henry, highlighted Meg's love for learning, portraying her as a bright star with a profound passion for discovery. In addition to her academic accomplishments, Meg was a talented artist. She had been illustrating a book on tropical bugs and birds for Professor Tom Sherry, whose admiration for her work reflected the awe it inspired in others. Her detailed illustrations showcased her extraordinary skill, including butterfly wings rendered with stunning radiance. Just days before the accident, Meg submitted several completed pieces highlighting her remarkable talent. The Tulane community mourned Meg's loss, describing her as a student who left a lasting impression on everyone she met. A university statement highlighted the tragedy of losing 2 community members in a short time, referring to a separate incident where a law school alumnus had also lost their life. In Meg's memory, her family and friends launched a GoFundMe campaign to support causes she cared about, including conservation and education. Plans were also made to display her scientific illustrations, honoring her artistic and academic contributions. Meg had been working on a community garden project in New Orleans before her passing, reflecting her dedication to using her knowledge to benefit others. Her loved ones continue to hold dear the memories of her vibrant personality and remarkable accomplishments. Her younger brother, close in age, deeply felt the loss of his lifelong companion, as they had never experienced a world without one another. This tragic event exemplifies life's unpredictability and the importance of cherishing every moment. Meg's legacy lives on through her work, passions, and impact on the people around her. It was July 30th, 2005 in Benidorm, Spain. Mildred Bowman, 62, and Alice Wardle, 68, were 2 sisters from Gateshead, England, who had just arrived for a long-awaited vacation at the Levante Club Apartments. This trip was a regular tradition for them. As widows and grandmothers, they often traveled to Spain for a relaxing getaway. The sisters planned to meet Alice's daughter, her husband, and their 2 children the next day. But when the family arrived at the meeting spot, Mildred and Alice didn't attend. Concern quickly grew because the sisters were known for being punctual and reliable. Over the next few days, their family searched around Benidorm, checking their favorite places and asking locals for information, but there was no sign of them. At the Levante Club Apartments, hotel staff noticed that the door to the sisters' room remained locked and untouched for several days. On August 4th, a maintenance worker entered the room to investigate. What he found would haunt him forever. Mildred and Alice were discovered lifeless under the heavy wooden frame of a fold-up bed. The bed, which was supposed to be secured to the wall, had detached and collapsed on top of them while they slept. They were trapped beneath its weight. Evidence revealed that they were likely stuck there for up to 4 days. Unable to free themselves, they endured a slow and painful passing, with injuries on their hands indicating desperate attempts to escape. An inquest by Gateshead coroner Terence Carney uncovered the tragic circumstances surrounding the incident. The screws securing the bed frame were found to be too small for the wall plugs, resulting in the bed detaching and falling. Coroner Carney deemed the deaths entirely preventable, emphasizing that proper installation would have avoided the fatal entrapment. The findings devastated the sisters' family, who had hoped for justice and accountability. However, a Spanish court had already cleared the resort's management of any responsibility months earlier. The court ruled that the resort was not directly at fault for the bed's improper installation, a decision that deepened the family's grief. Mildred's children, Paul, John, and Carol Gregory, were devastated and outraged. Despite their relentless efforts to hold the resort's management accountable, no action was taken. The family expressed their anguish, with Paul highlighting the injustice, noting that his mother and aunt had endured unimaginable suffering, yet no one had been held responsible for the preventable tragedy. The tragedy ignited broader discussions about hotel safety and tour operators' responsibilities. Mildred's daughter, Carol, underscored the importance of reform to prevent future incidents, stressing that such a devastating event should never be repeated and urging action to protect others from similar tragedies. The family faced a challenging legal battle with the tour operator, Thomas Cook. Although the company initially offered compensation, they retracted it, citing the elapsed time since the incident. This reversal left the family feeling abandoned and powerless in their fight for justice. A spokesperson for Thomas Cook expressed sympathy, stating that while their thoughts were with the family, efforts to resolve the matter had failed to result in an agreement. During the inquest in Gateshead, Coroner Carney reiterated that the tragedy resulted from the use of incorrect screws. He described the deaths as preventable, highlighting the importance of proper safety measures and accommodations. Despite their relentless efforts, the family faced numerous legal and bureaucratic obstacles. They called for stricter regulations in the tourism industry to protect travelers. Their advocacy tells us negligence can lead to devastating outcomes, even in seemingly safe environments. Years later, the family continues to honor Mildred and Alice's memory. Their story warns about the consequences of oversight and the need for accountability in ensuring guest safety. It also underscores the resilience of a family determined to seek justice, even in the face of immense loss. The deaths of Mildred Bowman and Alice Wardle are a heartbreaking reminder of how preventable errors can have tragic consequences. Their story raises questions. Could better safety measures have saved them? What more could be done to hold those responsible accountable? These questions drive the ongoing call for change, urging the industry to prioritize safety for all travelers. It was July 11, 2024, on Olango Island in the Philippines. Catherine Iga McEwen, a 43-year-old mother of two from Cagayan de Oro City, was enjoying a vacation with her husband, Ken McEwen, and their children. Ken, originally from Edinburgh, worked as a tech specialist in Singapore. Catherine, known for her adventurous nature, was excited to try the jumping balloon activity at Pinky's Floating Cottage Resort. The family was eager to enjoy the day's activities. The weather was perfect with clear skies and a calm breeze. Catherine decided to try the jumping balloon, an inflatable device where participants are launched into the air when someone else jumps onto it from a height. Ken and their children stood nearby, ready to capture the moment on their phones. Catherine lay on one end of the inflatable as a staff member climbed onto a platform to jump. When the staff member landed, Catherine was launched high into the air. What started as a thrilling experience quickly turned tragic. Instead of landing in the water, she hit the inflatable head first with a severe impact. Her neck was injured and she rolled into the sea, remaining motionless underwater. A resort worker, 21-year-old J. Paul Ontong, saw what happened and immediately dived into the water. He pulled Catherine back to shore, but she showed no movement. Onlookers watched anxiously as Jay and others worked to bring her to safety. Emergency services were called, and Catherine was rushed to Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center. At the hospital, doctors worked tirelessly to save her. Catherine was placed in a coma as her family stayed by her side, praying for her recovery. For 8 days, they waited and hoped, but on July 19th, she passed away from spinal injuries caused by the accident. Ken shared a heartfelt photo of Catherine with their children online, expressing his grief. The news spread quickly, raising questions about safety measures at Pinky's Floating Cottage Resort. Local authorities, including Lapu-Lapu City Mayor Junard Chan, took swift action. On July 21st, the mayor issued a cease-and-desist order, suspending all activities at the resort. He called for stricter safety measures to prevent future incidents and scheduled a meeting with resort operators to review their practices. The resort manager stated that all guests were provided safety instructions before participating in the jumping balloon activity. However, the accident raised questions about whether these guidelines were sufficient or effectively communicated. The resort owners pledged to cover Catherine's medical and burial expenses and promised to cooperate with the investigation. Authorities launched an inquiry, examining permits and safety protocols at the resort. Investigators aimed to determine if safety lapses contributed to the accident. Meanwhile, Catherine's death became an example of the risks associated with extreme activities. The tragedy left an impact on the local community and visitors alike. The once popular jumping balloon activity now symbolized the importance of proper safety measures. As the investigation continued, Ken and his children returned to Singapore, struggling to cope with their loss. Family and friends offered support, but Catherine's absence left an irreplaceable void. It was the night of October 16, 2021, at the Arcora Health Retreat in northern New South Wales, Australia. Jared Antonovich, a 46-year-old man from Lismore, attended a spiritual retreat meant for healing and self-discovery through ancient Amazonian practices. But what was supposed to be a transformative experience ended in tragedy. Jared had been exploring spiritual healing for years, partly due to brain injuries he suffered in his youth. Friends and family described him as gentle, compassionate, and deeply committed to finding peace and understanding. The Dreaming Arts Festival retreat was set in the rainforest and led by Solor Lor Solaris, known for facilitating spiritual ceremonies involving psychoactive substances. One of the key rituals was led by Cameron Kite and involved Kambo, a practice that uses frog toxins. On the morning of October 16th, Jared participated in this ritual, which involved small burns on the skin where toxins were applied. The process is believed to cleanse the body, but often causes intense reactions, including vomiting. Soon after, Jared's face and neck swelled, his eyes puffed up, and his breathing strained. Despite his worsening condition, no one sought medical help. That evening, Jared joined an ayahuasca ceremony which uses a powerful hallucinogenic brew. Participants often report vivid visions and purging, but the experience turned dangerous for Jared. As the night wore on, his condition deteriorated further. By midnight, he was visibly struggling, complaining of back pain and significant swelling around his neck. He eventually lay down near a tree in clear distress while the ceremony continued. At 12:40 a.m., paramedics were finally called. When they arrived, Jared was unresponsive and had already passed away. Shockingly, the ceremony continued nearby. Ambulance officer Brett Murray later testified that participants were evasive, initially suggesting that Jared had suffered an asthma attack. An inquest revealed the true cause of Jared's death, a tear in his esophagus, likely caused by severe vomiting from the kambo and ayahuasca. It also became evident that his worsening symptoms throughout the day were ignored, and no one acted to get him help in time. Experts testified that timely medical intervention could have saved his life. The inquest in May 2023 uncovered disturbing details of a possible cover-up. Solaris and others reportedly told participants not to mention the use of kambo and ayahuasca, substances illegal at the time. Witnesses testified that they were even instructed to lie to authorities. One participant, Laurel Alefounder, refused Solaris's request to tell Jared's flatmate to stay silent, exposing attempts to obscure the truth. Accounts from the retreat varied, but it was clear that Jared had been in visible distress for hours. Witnesses described his pale complexion, swollen neck, and the sounds of his suffering. Despite this, many believed his reaction was part of the expected process. For instance, participant Rafael Lima noted Jared's condition but did not think it was serious, while another attendee, Chelsea Hope, mentioned that such reactions could last for hours. Evidence presented during the inquest pointed to negligence. The coroner found sufficient grounds to suggest that a known individual may have been responsible for Jared's death due to inaction. As a result, the case was referred to the Director of Public Prosecutions and the inquest was paused. Jared's father, Glenn Antonovich, was present throughout the hearings, adamant that there had been a cover-up. He and other family members sought answers and accountability. The coroner acknowledged their perseverance and thanked them for cooperating during the challenging process. Jared's death raises serious concerns about the safety of using traditional medicines outside their indigenous cultural contexts. These practices, while respected in their native traditions, can be hazardous without proper knowledge or oversight. It was January 27, 2023, in central London. Kevin Holding, a 60-year-old contractor, performed routine maintenance on a pop-up urinal. This was a standard task for Holding, who worked for High-Tech Washroom Solutions Limited. He was at Cambridge Circus, a busy area where Shaftesbury Avenue meets Charing Cross Road, just outside the Palace Theatre, home to the play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Holding, a father of 3 from Beckenham in southeast London, was known for his dedication to work and family. Westminster City Council introduced pop-up urinals in London about 20 years ago to address public hygiene concerns. These devices stay underground during the day and rise hydraulically at night. On that day, Holding ensured one of these urinals was functioning properly. He began working between 10 o'clock and 10:30 a.m. and had been on the job for several hours without incident. At approximately 1 p.m., as Holding was finishing up, the urinal suddenly collapsed. This tragic accident was captured on CCTV. The heavy hydraulic mechanism trapped him underneath, resulting in severe injuries. Shocked passers-by in the bustling West End witnessed the horrific event. Emergency services were immediately called and the response was swift. Ambulance crews, 4 fire engines, 25 firefighters, and an air ambulance arrived within minutes, with the first responders on site by 1:05 p.m. Police arrived shortly after, cordoning the area to manage the growing crowd. Despite the quick arrival of personnel, there was a significant delay in accessing the equipment needed to lift the heavy structure. A specialized vehicle didn't arrive until after 3 p.m. For over 2 hours, emergency workers struggled to free Holding. Firefighters used a winch and other tools to lift the structure as bystanders anxiously watched the intense rescue effort. At 3:40 p.m., Holding was finally freed, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene. A post-mortem examination later confirmed the cause of death as compression asphyxia. Kevin Holding was identified using his Oyster card, a public transportation pass. His sudden passing left his family devastated. Holding's partner and 3 children were heartbroken by the loss of a man they described as the life and soul of the family. His daughter shared a touching photo of him with his granddaughter, writing, "She will know you as the best granddad in the whole world." An inquest into Holding's death took place at the Inner West London Coroner's Court. Coroner Prof. Fiona Wilcox extended her condolences to the family and acknowledged the tragic circumstances. The inquest revealed a critical issue: the delay in getting the necessary vehicle to lift the urinal. This delay was noted as a significant problem in the emergency response. Westminster City Council later issued a statement expressing their deepest sympathies to Holding's loved ones. They assured the public that a full investigation was underway to understand the events leading to the incident. The Health and Safety Executive also launched an inquiry to examine safety protocols. Holding's family, especially his daughter Carly, voiced frustration over the authorities' handling of the aftermath. In an interview with the BBC, she described her father as the glue that held their family together and criticized officials' lack of support and clear communication. She emphasized that no family should endure the treatment they had experienced. This tragic event raises pressing questions about safety and emergency response. Could Kevin Holding's life have been saved if the equipment had arrived sooner? How can maintenance protocols and worker safety measures be improved to prevent similar accidents? What steps can be taken to ensure faster and more efficient emergency responses in the future? The loss of Kevin Holding shows the unexpected risks that can arise in everyday jobs. It underscores the importance of improving safety standards and emergency preparedness to protect workers. For his family, the pain of his passing is immeasurable, and their search for answers and justice continues. This tragedy is a call to action for better safety measures and compassionate handling of victims' families during such heartbreaking times.